Welcome to Public Pedagogy. This is a podcast from the Peaks Lab. I am Sean Lanini, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Matthew Kruger-Ross. We believe that the work happening inside universities should be a public good and not something locked behind paywalls and not in a language that no one wants to read. And as phenomenologists, Matthew and I are famously bad at this. And so we are learning how to do this better publicly in this podcast. Each episode, we sit down with a scholar and we ask two questions. Who are you in the academy and how does your work show up in the world? In the end, we want to know how a scholar's big questions determine who they are in academia and in the public. And today for episode 1, I'm very happy to be joined by Dr. Megan Fork. Megan, can you tell us who you are, what your title is at Westchester, what kind of research you do, and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Megan Fork. I'm an associate professor, newly minted here at Westchester University.
Would you update that email signature?
Oh, hell yeah, like day of.
Right, good answer.
I'm in the biology department here, which is, but like so many departments, biology is a pretty wide discipline. So I consider myself an ecosystem scientist, and I work primarily in urban and aquatic ecosystems. Does that cover everything? I think so.
How big is your department, Megan?
We're, I think,
like
a little more than 20. It's like full-time faculty.
It's a big department.
Yeah, not the biggest, but we're big. Yeah.
I think the one thing that I don't know that people always understand about college professors is like your job is to do two things, right? It's to teach courses, but it's also to do research.
Oh yeah,
indeed, and service. So that's a whole other piece, yeah.
It's a whole different podcast.
Which I should say, thank you. Megan is on my dissertation committee, so thank you.
Of course.
But so let's start with your research. Can you walk us through your research? What are you actually studying, and how did you land on watersheds as your big sort of question?
Yeah, absolutely. So ecosystem science as a field really is about integrating the living and non-living parts of the world. And we can do that at several different scales, but one scale that is particularly well suited to do those things is the watershed, because it is relatively bounded, right? So one of the definition of a watershed is that all the water that falls in that area all flows to one point. That's how we define where a watershed is. So you can think of it as like a bowl, right? All the rain that falls in that bowl is going to stay in that bowl. If you poke a hole at the bottom of that bowl, it'll all flow out that one point. And watersheds can be kind of any scale. Right now I'm sitting in the Delaware River watershed, which includes lots of Pennsylvania, some of Delaware, lots of New Jersey and part of New York. But I'm also sitting in now I think I'm in the Brandywine watershed, which is, the Brandywine is a tributary to the Delaware River. We can go down as far as one of my dissertation chapters was thinking about the roof of a house as a watershed, right? So if you think about rain falling on your roof, it flows out, it falls on your roof, it gets rooted to your gutter, which is the sort of like metaphor for the stream here, and it flows out the gutter at the bottom.
Where'd you do your doctorate, Megan?
Duke University.
Yeah, you did.
So when you're in your sort of day-to-day research world, what does your research entail right now? Like, how are you exploring watersheds?
Yeah, so one of the other things that we're interested in when we think about ecosystem science in particular, as opposed to the kind of many other flavors of ecology, is we're really interested in the transport and transformation of energy and materials, which is very broad, right? So like if we kind of think of some examples of that, like carbon, right? Carbon is fixed by plants in the watershed. It goes from the atmosphere into the bodies of the plants. So that's a transformation of carbon. It's also a transformation of energy from into kind of the chemical energy using light energy. So we can think about one of the things that sort of was part of the birth of ecosystem science was building carbon budgets, right? We talk about global carbon budgets and things like that all the time, but we can do these for watersheds. In my work, primarily, I am working on the budgets, the transport, the transformation of stuff that we discard. So that looks like trash, budgets, and how trash is moved around, how trash is changed or affected different among different watersheds. In the past, that has also looked like pharmaceuticals and things like that. So things that we excrete.
Oh, interesting.
So different kind of trash. We sometimes call it invisible trash. Microplastics can be part of this. Pesticides, all kinds of contaminants are where I'm primarily working these days.
And what are you finding? Can you share some of your big findings?
Yeah, so a big project that we have been working on recently, that I'm working on writing up right now, asked how the single-use plastic bans that we have in a lot of municipalities here in Pennsylvania. So, okay, wait, let me back up. Okay, so single-use plastic bans are this policy response to the observation that there's a lot of plastic trash in the environment. You maybe remember during COVID, there was that video of sea turtle with a straw in its nose, and everybody kind of was like, poor baby sea turtle, I'm so sad. And so one of the responses to that is that we started seeing these single-use plastic bans popping up all over. So right now, there are several countries throughout the world that have banned single-use plastics in some capacity. Here in the US, we've got this mosaic of different policies state by state, like so many things, right?
Good way to put it.
So yeah, we've got, I think it's either 12 or 13 states in the United States have banned single-use plastics statewide. We've got several states that, another 12 or 13 that have municipal scale, so like local or county scale bans on single-use plastic or taxes on the bags or something like that. And then we've got a whole other set of states, another 15-ish, that have banned municipalities from passing bans, and then a few that have no policy at all. Here in Pennsylvania, we are one where we have municipal scale bans. So we've got about 40 different municipalities in Pennsylvania right now that have these single-use plastic bans. The vast majority of them are all in southeastern Pennsylvania, right around where Westchester is located, and sort of like epicenter of Philadelphia, and then several of the suburbs outside of it. So what that means is that if you picture the landscape of Philadelphia and its suburbs, we've got several parts of that landscape, several tiles of that mosaic where single-use plastics are not distributed at all. But then we've got adjacent places where they are, and there's no policy at all. The really nice thing about the way that these policies are enacted is usually the if a city or borough or whatever is going to ban single-use plastics, they give a little bit of lead time for the businesses to like get rid of their current stock, which is also really great for those of us that want to study that, because then we have some lead time to plan our study. So what this allowed us to do is create a study where we could do before-after control impact, which is a really common method in environmental science, and study how these municipal scale single-use plastic bans affect the amount of trash that we find in our streams. So we started by picking 9 watersheds around the area that were similar in size and where there was the same policy throughout the watershed. So there's not like trash. If we're looking at a stream where there is a ban, there's not a place upstream where there's not a ban that trash could be coming from. Like whole watershed, all of the tributaries have the same policy. And so we studied these 9 watersheds, 3 that had bans the whole time, 3 without bans the whole time, and 3 with before and after. measurements. Yeah, it was a lot of work. I think I had 10 undergraduates working on this project and one master's student over the time.
You keep saying we, and I was at some point.
Yeah, it's a big we. It's a big we. It's a lot of people power that went into this. So 18 months of data collection or sample collection. We went out about every 6 weeks, so 12 times total over 18 months to collect trash from these watersheds. And the way that we did that was we measured a 5 meter by 5 meter square, so about like a little less than 20 feet square, and then went through and picked up every piece of trash. We did 4 of those on the banks, and then we did 1 5 meter length of stream so that we could compare what we see on the banks and what we see in the stream itself. We brought all the trash that we collected back to campus, then we rinsed it, dried it, recorded what it was made out of, its size, its mass, what we thought it would be used for. Like, so one of the places we found a lot of tennis balls, so we would characterize that as sports equipment, right? And all together we got just finished that process in the spring of characterizing all that trash. We got just under 16,000 individual pieces of trash.
Wow.
In our data set.
Oh my gosh, Megan.
Yeah. So then we go through and we start off by kind of characterizing, like, okay, so let's just see what's there, right? If we look at all the trash that we find in streams, kind of what is it mostly made out of? And we found that more than 50% of it is made out of plastic, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but something like 35 to 40% of it is plastic film, like the same kind of material that the single-use plastic bags are made of, which is the target of most of our single-use plastic bans. So from that perspective, it looks like, okay, these bans have a capacity, or there is a possibility that they might be doing something, because the stuff that we see the most is the kind of material targeted. But when we compare the before and after and compare the places with and without bans, we actually don't see any effect of the single-use plastic bans. So we don't see evidence at this point that these bans are having an effect on the amount of single-use plastics in the stream.
Interesting. Do you have any guesses of why that is?
I do. I have a few guesses as to why.
Okay.
One guess that I have is that it's still working its way through the system, right? So we just haven't sampled enough time. So in our study, we sampled of those 18 months. 1 year happened after the bans, or a little bit less than a year, because the bans went into place in January and we sampled through December. So it could be that we just need more time for the stuff that's already sitting around in the system, the bags that people have at home, and stuff like that, to be working its way through the system before we'll see that effect. So it could be just not enough time. Another possible explanation is that there were some differences in population density and stuff like that. It could be that the places with the biggest problems, the biggest amount of trash, are the places that are most likely to pass these bans in the first place. So it might be that we are not comparing apples to apples exactly. And so we're going to do some more statistical modeling, some deeper look at the land use and land cover in these watersheds, and see if that can help explain some of the differences, and start to if we can control for those pre-existing differences that we see, and see if that lets us detect some effect that we're not able to detect kind of on this raw, coarser analysis. The third, and I think most likely explanation for what's happening, is that municipalities in this area are very small, right? So, for example, here in Westchester, Westchester and our neighbor West Goshen Township have single-use plastic bans in place. But in Westchester, there is no grocery store. So we have to go across the township boundary and buy our groceries at the Giant that's in the neighboring township, where there is no
Yes.
plastic ban, and we bring them back to our house if
Interesting.
we chose
Okay.
in plastic bags. And so if you think about like there's if you know this area, like if you live in Swarthmore, you're not in the municipality of Swarthmore that much. You're leaving to go do
You're
other
going
things.
everywhere.
And so you're going into these other tiles of this mosaic that have a different policy. And so what I think is that the scale of the municipality does not match the scale of human activity. And so people are crossing those boundaries and sort
Right.
of negating that effect. Maybe what we would see is this like, if we got enough municipalities, we'd have this sort of like, we're reducing in this sort of general regional way how much plastic is being distributed. And in fact, we do see like a study of the plastic ban in Philly shows that there is a reduction in the amount of plastic distributed. And so we might eventually start to see that reduction at a high enough density of these single-use plastic bans, but we're not there yet. Like 40 out of a gazillion is just not going to do it.
So that's like so fascinating to me. Just Matthew, I think so much about systems and how like each cog in the machine is so important to the rest of the cogs, and to think about the fact that like, oh yeah, well of course we get our groceries from a different place than than the one that has the plastic bin. But so you have these like,
Oh, sorry.
oh go ahead, Matthew.
I was going to say, the thing that strikes me, I hope I'm picking up what you were putting down, Sean, is I think for people who listen to this, they may be like that. They follow, they get what's being described. But Megan, what struck me is you're talking a lot about policies and people, right? And not as much about what people might think when they hear ecosystems, that you're out in the river collecting the water, right? But it just struck me that you've got such a complex understanding of, like Sean was going to say, like the system, the policies, the what's showing up over here in this district, which means you have to understand that area, you have to understand the townships and all of that. That's just what's striking me.
Yeah, I'm glad for you to sort of weave that thread because I think, as an urban ecologist, sometimes we get a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because people like ecology, people think traditionally does not like places where people are not places where ecology is, right? Is kind of a traditional view. Ecology is a thing that happens in nature and national parks and beautiful forests and Alaska and things like that. And it's not for downtown Westchester. It's not for Philadelphia.
Right.
But urban ecology as a field has really grown over the last since the mid 90s, like all well within our lifetimes has this become a real science. And one of the things that kind of came out of that is this idea of social ecological systems, which really started with urban ecology and has bled out. We've sort of realized that, like all ecological systems are social ecological systems that are deeply entwined with the choices that people make and kind of the social systems that are embedded in and around them.
So
fascinating. This is like exactly the question I was about to ask was, like you just said, like ecology. I think people think of national parks and whatever, but this is clearly a different group of different subsection of ecology. So you have this brilliant experiments. You collect this great data. You come up with some hypotheses for why this is happening, some ideas for why this is happening. Who are you sharing it with? Like who are the academic journals, the conferences? There must be a subgroup of like urban ecology, heroes in the world that want to know this stuff.
Are you a rock star? Because I know you're a rock star, but are you a rock star amongst your peers?
So, I mean, I'm a peer among my peers, right? I work with a lot of rock stars. I'm lucky to be inspired and hopefully occasionally inspire some awesome scientists. But I guess one group with which I work really closely is the Symposium on Urbanization and Stream Ecology. So I'm lucky to serve on the board for that organization. And we meet as a group in person probably every 3-ish years. We just had our 7th meeting about a year ago in San Juan, Puerto Rico, which was great. And we are working, that's really exciting because I'm working with a group of international scientists from, a really international group like Europe, Africa, all through North America, Mexico, but maybe not South America off the top of my head. Working on kind of a review of like, what do we know about the effects of trash in aquatic ecosystems? How does it get there? All these things. So thinking about trash as data, trash as a ecological like driver and effect. So that's one group. I work a lot with the Society for Freshwater Science, which has a really robust urban freshwater group within it. And the Ecological Society of America is the sort of premier professional group for ecologists in the United States. And that also has a really strong urban chapter.
So I think we can all sense from listening to you talk about the things that you're doing and its impacts that this is clearly a public interest, right? Like we care about our watershed health.
Yeah.
Right. And we care about the various policies that might impact it. And so what you've talked about so far is fascinating. The work that you're doing, you're sharing with all these different groups. Like one of the things that I think is so fascinating is that like your research in Westchester at the watershed in Westchester is going to impact somebody's research in a watershed in Africa or in Europe or wherever, right? Because like that's how you extrapolate these findings. What I'm curious to know now, like we talk about scholarship being a public good, how do you take your findings and bring it to like the Wawa down the road? How do you explain the single-use plastic ban to the manager at the Wawa or to the policymaker in the Westchester municipality? Because people, you hear it all the time. People are like, "Oh, we can't use our plastic bags or our plastic straws." Well, they don't understand or they don't know. So how do you get that message out to people?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm definitely still learning how to do this effectively. But one of the things so a couple of things that I do is get involved in local government. So I volunteer at the Westchester Borough on our Sustainability Advisory Council. So that council does a lot of work kind of writing memos and recommendations that go to the elected officials in the borough. One of the things that committee also does is review exemption requests for the single-use plastic ban in Westchester Borough. So evaluating those, making recommendations for whether or not that policy should be expanded, and lots of other kind of sustainability related things. So things like composting, road salt pollution, all sorts of, we didn't even get to talk about road salt pollution yet. Lots of things like that affect the sustainability. So that's a way to get directly into the municipal government, get the ear of the people writing our kind of borough policies and enforcing those policies. I've also done, this Westchester University just started, I guess the School of Science and Math at Westchester University this past year just started a Science on Tap series, which is a public facing science communication series. So I participated in that as a way to talk about this research, try to make it relevant to people.
Can you explain what that is? What
Science
on Tap
for sure.
is?
Yeah, I mean, the pithiest way to say it is it's like a scientist talking about their research at a bar. So there's a bar right in the center of downtown Westchester. We rent an upper room that has its own space. We have a projector, and we've had scientists talking about trash for one, but all sorts of, from chemistry to physics to biology to engineering, all these kinds of topics, and just describing their work, answering people's questions, and working to make it as accessible, relevant, interesting as possible, with beer as kind of the wingman to that, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then I've been thinking a lot about how I can. So one of the other things is that, like, the state of Pennsylvania right now does have a statewide single-use plastic ban that has been proposed. It's in committee, but it's been there for like a year and a half. So thinking about ways to reach out to our state elected officials to show, like, hey, we got these municipal scale bans, but we don't really see them having a great effect, and trying to push on those kinds of policies that we think might be more effective. So that's where I really see, like, with this kind of work that is sort of directly interfacing with policy, really thinking about relating to the people that make and enforce that policy. And part of the reason for that is because the narrative of personal responsibility when it comes to trash and recycling, I think, is really fraught. I think, like, the history of that narrative of public responsibility is really coming from corporations shunning their own corporate responsibility for these things. And so I do want to ask the public to think about the choices that they make, right? And use reusable bags where possible, and, like, don't use a straw if you don't need it. But I also want people to think about the choices that are available to them, right? Because a lot of the choices are made for us by corporations before we even get a chance to make that choice. So, like, anytime you go to the grocery store, just think about, like, if I wanted to buy all my food and the stuff that I need without plastic packaging, how possible is that, right? It's not very possible at all.
It's like they set the conversation and they set the debate before we even came to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so, and, on the sort of back end of that, so many choices about the effectiveness and what we can recycle are choices that are made above our heads as well. So like, a lot of, like, there's a lot of guilt sort of being peddled to us about personal responsibility when it comes to trash and recycling and waste and stuff like that. And a lot of that is, I guess, unfairly put on our shoulders, for lack of a better term.
Megan, let me give you, like, a quick platform here. Like, I think a lot of the funding for projects like this, it comes from grants, it comes from state funding, government funding.
That's another thing I've been calling.
That's another thing. Right now is another thing.
Yeah, that's the after hours podcast right there.
That's the after hours one. But I guess take this opportunity to explain why Joe on the street should care about your research in a way that, like, his tax dollars are going to your research project, right? Like, why? I don't know. Matthew asked the question earlier, like, who cares? Who cares about your research? Explain its value, I guess, to the regular person.
Yeah, so I'm going to assume that every Joe or Jane that I would encounter on the street drinks water.
Yep.
That's a fair assumption.
If you drink water, you should care about this research that keeps the water clean, that allows it to continue to exist for you to drink, for you to water your garden. And if you like looking at birds, if you like fireflies, if you like being outside and not seeing trash, the goal of our research is to keep the water and the landscape clean and usable by people, right? That's only going to get more and more important. And I think this is an example of, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? If we pay to understand how to keep these things clean. We don't have to pay 10 times as much later to clean them up after we've messed them up.
Megan, thank you so much. That was fascinating. It's so cool to hear about all the work you're doing and how you're getting it into the various spheres of all your different audiences. That was cool. That was
I'm
really
so grateful
cool.
for you.
Yeah. Megan, where can people find out about your work, follow along with your research, Science on Tap, all those things?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. And you can Google Megan Fork WCU. There's not a lot of Megan Forks out in the world. My lab website is aquaticecosystemswcu.weebly.com. You can also access that pretty easily from if you find me on the Westchester website. So
Megan, thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks.
Thank you, friend. I can't. I mean, this was like on our bucket list of people who to talk to. Megan was on the top, and that we got to talk to Megan very first is like, I seriously, you noticed I was looking at both of us listening to Megan talk because we were just like, keep talking, keep sharing. This is fascinating.
Well, I think people I don't know if people understand this about scholars. I don't want to make a huge generalization, but people who are in academia, all they want is to talk about their research.
About their topic,
all they want is
the thing that you love.
About the thing that you love.
And once you get an audience, you can watch their passion is infectious.
Yeah.
Right there.
Well, it's like you try to find points to it's a podcast, you have to keep it to some, a limit of some kind. I'm trying to find points to jump in, but I'm like, I don't want to jump in. Just keep going. Just keep going.
I know, just keep talking. Yeah. And then my brain is on fire listening to all of the different ways that you would just think that that's not at all.
Right.
I mean, there's just so many layers.
Well, we didn't even get into the teaching part too. Like how does your research get into your classes and all that stuff?
Yeah,
we get there.
We didn't even unpack because Megan's my colleague. I get to know lots about how they support students, the undergrads in the lab, and then outside of the lab, she hires or she helps fund students. Think about all that work that happens out in the real world, in the stream. Right. And then think about all of the work that happens and learning that happens in the room when they're back and processing. How do you think there has to be software and things that helps manage all of that data, right?
There must be.
There has to be.
I mean, the same way that we have different qualitative tools, there must,
I know, but 16,000
pieces of trash data. I love that. But I think it's so interesting. When we think about the audience for Megan's research, there are two very clear spots, right? There's the academic part of it of all of this data and all of our findings. It goes out to these various scholarly organizations, the urban ecology groups. The idea that the work that she does in Westchester will influence the work being done on some river in wherever. Spain, is so fascinating to me.
I know.
And so that audience is very clearly they want to know down and dirty, what was the experiment you did? What was the data that you collected? How did it work? What were your findings? All that stuff. And she can present those things very, very clearly. But then the other side, the public side, is not necessarily although I think the Science on Tap is fascinating, we're going to go to the bar and I'm going to tell you and stuff. The public side of their work is not necessarily Joe on the street, but it's the people who are trying to translate the research into policy. Yeah. Right. So the public side is she serves on these various volunteer committees and she is speaking to government officials
and supervisory boards and
and saying this is what my findings are and this is how it's going to impact your plastic policies, your trash policies.
It struck me just listening to Megan from the very beginning that they have done a lot of work constantly thinking about science hat on, how do I communicate about this to politicians and the public hat? And the expertise with which they switch back and forth between that. I wonder if we'll see that in other people.
Yeah.
I wondered that even in the first couple of minutes with Megan going, I mean, this is going to set the tone for all of our other conversations, but maybe we discover that our colleagues are like doing this. They're living this, and they've found ways to do this in ways that we haven't even realized or thought about yet. Maybe we're just too busy looking like this. But it struck me. Did it strike you as well? Like I was like, oh my God, Megan! Like we need them to teach us how to do.
Well, I think it's so clear too that Megan, like, they care deeply about the health of the system, which includes us, it includes the plant, it includes whatever is in the watershed, right? And the way that care for that system translates is, I'm going to put so much energy into this very specific research plan, and I'm going to dedicate my career to this very specific research plan, but not for me. I'm doing it for the watershed. That feels like that translates very clearly. And I wonder if we'll see that, like, when we speak to people in different academic roles or different ologies of their choosing, how many of them are like have truly dedicated their time to this craft for the purpose of the benefit of the public versus like whatever else it could be. And I think too, like, the hard part for us, I say in the intro, like, as phenomenologists, we're just bad at this because it's like difficult language and it's difficult things to unpack. And we spend a lot of time like this reading books and talking to each other and whatever. I just wondered, like, we have clearly decided that our public good is we care a lot about the act of learning and how education systems are built. But the ability to translate a Heidegger concept or a Merleau-Ponty concept and take it not just out of phenomenology and into regular talk, but then out of regular talk and into education, it's difficult. And it's something that I think we are going to learn how to do better from stuff like this. Right. So
this is going to be a great journey, and what a great way to start with Megan.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is it. That is it for episode number 1. Thank you for spending this time with us. If you want more of this, everything that we make and do and think about is at our website, which is the peakslab.org, PEXE. Matthew and I also both write on Substack about teaching, learning, and phenomenology. Links to those are all in the show notes, along with everywhere you can find Megan, their work, their writing, all the stuff that Megan does, and where to follow what they're up to. If something in this conversation stuck with you, which I hope it did, please pass it along to someone who would want to hear it. In the meantime, consider giving us a rating and a review to help spread the word. And thanks again. We will see you next time for Public Pedagogy.
And stay tuned. We're going to talk to more scholars.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you.